welcome. We have Lauri Heiskari here for today's interview. Lauri's a longtime friend of mine. We started snowboarding at the same time, and he's been going at it ever since. He's one of the most stylish snowboarders out there, and most of you recognize how he gets things done, his powder skills, and his skills riding on the rails and in the urban scene. So, Lauri, welcome, and thanks for doing this little interview here. It's a little awkward speaking English to each other when we're both Finnish speaking, but yeah, it's good to have you. Thanks for coming.
No worries.
So today's agenda is to interview a little bit about how you got where you are today, and what's the road been, whether it's been easy or hard, and what kind of challenges you've had. Because I mean, we all have challenges getting where we want to go, and some of us are able to solve the problems on the way and set goals to reach our dreams. What were your dreams when you were a kid? We were all snowboarding in a little slope out there, and what was your dream? Or
Well, I had two dreams. One was to become a professional snowboarder, obviously, and second was to find a perfect girlfriend. Which one do you want to talk about?
I think, you probably covered the both by now, but yeah, we'll concentrate on
Take
snowboarding.
the short version, take snowboarding.
Exactly. So, snowboarding, and what was your goal for snowboarding to do it at the level you're right now?
Well, I wanted to, one goal was to have a pro model. That was always my dream. And maybe that was a little bit later on, but when I was a kid, I just wanted to know every trick. That was probably my goal, just to know everything.
Be able to do every trick,
Yeah.
and very cool. And how did that work out?
All right. Well, a lot of tricks, and a lot of that I probably didn't imagine being able to do when I was a kid, but there's still a lot more to do.
Yeah, right. There's always more tricks
There's
to
always
learn.
more, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look back, like the tool bag that you have now is quite a bit bigger than when it was when you were
Oh, for
younger.
sure, yeah.
What kind of I mean, we all have different kind of challenges, and I remember I had plenty of obstacles to face. When you were younger, what were in snowboarding? What were the things that were kind of maybe holding you back, or that you were able to solve?
Just more mental issues, just having a lot of fears and insecurities, and would get really nervous if people were around watching, putting a lot of pressure on myself. And like doing contests when I was a kid, I couldn't land any of my tricks when I actually in the competition, but in the practice could do everything.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that kind of problems. And then later on, when I moved abroad and had to start riding big mountains and stuff like that we don't have here in Finland, that was a really, really big step for me. I have a little bit of fear of heights, and it's not the best quality to have when you're a professional snowboarder, but So
apparently you figured stuff out to hold that fear in the background.
I think it's more like the social pressure that my best friends are snowboarders and they were kids like me. None of us did big stuff when we were young, and then everybody else started progressing, and kind of like the feeling that I need to progress with them, and I see them hit something and I'm like, I can do this. Like, it's just fear, I can do it, or I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you just make yourself do it, actually feels pretty amazing when you get over your fears. And I don't know how I actually got to the point of doing it, but it's gotten a lot easier for me to do stuff. And then now I still have a fear of heights. Like, let's say I'm on a balcony really high up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to look over at the fence. I really don't enjoy that feeling. But now for me, hit let's say a 50-foot cliff that is basically the same thing as the balcony. It's not that big of a problem for me to do with the snowboard, but I still have it, like, for example, with water, and I don't want to jump big things in the water because I don't have the motivation to do it. I don't need to be jumping big cliffs in the water because I just don't have the motivation for it. But I want to be jumping cliffs on a snowboard because that's my job and that's what I want to do. So maybe something to do with that. You tell me.
Yeah, right. So very interestingly, he says that he can get over his fear, but in other areas he still has it, and he doesn't know how he got over it. So the thing is that a lot of these fears, we're unaware of them. They're more in our unconscious, and he's figured out a way to solve that problem in one area, and there are different tricks that we do, but we're very unconscious of them. And some people are successful and they get over them to a point where they can do it professionally, and then some people never get over their fears, and it holds them back from having fun and getting more confident. When you got to the level when you started actually riding with your idols, JP Walker and all those other guys, how did it feel like when you actually achieved that dream? And was there a point when you realized that, hey, I'm actually living this? There's
been a lot of points that I don't think you ever get used to the feeling, because all those guys, they always stay, even if you're filming for the same movie and doing same kind of tricks, but those guys will always be my idols, and they're always going to be that JP Walker or Devin Walsh. He's always going to be that guy. Like when I'm with those guys, I feel like I'm 14 again. And not all the time, obviously you get used to the feeling if you're on a 2-week trip with somebody and you do just normal stuff, grocery shopping, and obviously he's your good friend now and it feels normal, but there's still those points when you look at you're not looking at yourself, you're kind of looking from far away. You're that 14-year-old kid and you're pointing at yourself like, dude, you're hanging out with that guy. Steal something. Steal his shirt. But yeah, it's sometimes trippy. Like I was with Ika, one of my best friends, who's a professional snowboarder as well. We sat in LA during the X Games, and we're on this hotel roof, and you see all the big tall buildings, and there's JP Walker and Devin Walsh sitting right next to you. And then I just like whispered to him like, dude, do you realize who we're sitting with and where we are? There's not Finland anymore. It's these two. And he's like kind of like winking at me like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, what was the question?
Cool. And so for so many people, they want to become professional, or they want to get to the level where, like you said, they can do all the tricks. Like I want to do even the tricks that I didn't think I could do. If you were to think about that, how did you get to be so good at what you do? What did it take to get there?
Just a lot of practice, I think, and motivation to actually want to do it, not just think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but actually going to the hill and working on those. Especially some tricks come more easily than others, and some tricks won't, and then being able to keep practicing on the tricks that aren't as easy. And sometimes when you practice them on the hill, it makes you feel really bad, and I don't feel that good about myself, because you feel like you're like, oh, I totally suck. But being able to live with that feeling and still doing the tricks that aren't as easy for you and getting them, and when you actually get them, then it's not that bad anymore, and you feel like more overall rider and feel more confident about your riding. But maybe just the thing that you have to work on, the things that you're not as good, like fear of heights.
So a lot of work and a lot of practice, and also getting over those humps that were holding you back. And
I think most of those things, the hardest things are to being able to, like, let's say at first I tried to avoid going to Whistler and hitting all those cliffs, because I knew that I wasn't going to enjoy. It was an uncomfortable place for me to go. I didn't like sledding. I didn't like fear of heights, kind of afraid of avalanches. Like my comfort zone was in totally different area of snowboarding, but still going there where I wasn't as comfortable, and then making it into a normal, like a playground, like just like a normal park in Finland.
So it wasn't so much of the actual skills. It was, like you said, you were thinking about how uncomfortable that situation is going to be, but then you were still able to motivate yourself to do that. So would you say, how much would you say the importance of like mentally getting over these things than skill-wise? Did skills kind of come through practice, and then mental skills, it was like you needed to get over them or you couldn't do the tricks?
For sure, the mental aspect was the hardest, because there's a lot of riders that don't still this day.